You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna say it. I don't like Taylor Swift at all. Okay, for all the people booing right now, fuck you. You're part of the fucking problem. You assholes are the reason she's got to where she's at. But anyway, let me explain why I don't like Taylor Swift, since apparently everyone and their mother has been losing their collective shit recently about her upcoming involvement in a Super Bowl halftime show because her current boyfriend is on one of the teams who I could not give a fuck about because honestly I was hoping the Lions would beat the Steelers, but they lost on account of their offense being overly greedy and trying to go for points instead of just kicking the fucking field goal and settling the game right then and there, going into double overtime and possibly winning it. But my Detroit related gripes aside, let's talk about Taylor Swift, shall we? Now, Taylor Swift is currently 34 years old. She has been in the media for close to 15 years now, maybe 20. She has been a widely known country sensation, which wasn't enough of a reason to dislike her as it was, because that music is insufferable. Let's be honest, country music is basically what happens when an alcoholic starts lamenting about the fact that they can't keep a woman, that their dog runs away, and that they drink too fucking much. There are some diamonds in the rough where they do want to talk about the grief of losing a loved one, or the grief of having to find out they are being handed a folded flag because someone that you care about died overseas in a war. Or they are just trying to consider all of your life stresses and trying to look at it. There are very few diamonds in the rough where you can actually say, I might hate the genre, but this song isn't too bad. The artist Poor Man's Poison comes to mind. It's a genre that transcends its own genre, in the sense that this artist can appeal to multiple different people by having a catchy hook and an interesting tune. Taylor Swift, however, does not possess this ability. All of her songs basically goes as follows. She develops a dysfunctional relationship with someone that wouldn't have worked in the first place. They break up, she makes an album, wash, rinse, repeat as needed. Basically, it's the same thing. At that point, someone has to wonder, lady, are you sure it's not you? Are you sure it's not you? Because you're doing the stuff that a teenage girl would have done in your early to mid-20s, back when all these albums were a huge hit. And the main reason that these albums are a huge hit is because they appeal to the 13 to 15-year-old girl range, where all these young ladies are having fucked up dysfunctional relationships in middle school and high school because they themselves, like the boys in their ilk, don't understand what they want yet, and they get involved in relationships that end up falling apart because neither one of the people that in the relationship were compatible to begin with, because it was just an impulse for a lot of these people. And it's the same thing that I feel like it is when it comes down to Taylor's romances in every single one of these albums. I call them albums instead of relationships because, let's be honest, every relationship has more or less been an excuse to have a mental breakdown, write an album about how upset and hurt you are by the person you were dating, and then basically make a fuck you kind of song to them, basically trying to say, fuck you, I still got better because I made this entire album because I was pissed off at you because things didn't work out, because I can't handle shit like an adult and just say, fuck it, things don't work out, it's okay. It's okay to be a little bit upset, it's okay to be hurt with the fact things didn't work out, but Taylor takes this shit to an extreme. Let's be honest, most artists may make one or two songs in their entire career about a dysfunctional relationship. You saw it in She Loves Me Not with Papa Roach when Jacob Jacoby, the lead singer, more or less wrote a song about his dysfunctional and difficult marriage with his wife because they were in the process of having a divorce. Other songs also are like that, however, I can't quite pull it off the top of my head, so forgive me for that. However, there are a lot of different artists who openly talk about the difficulties of their relationship changing. Phil Collins himself did another one with the song I Can Feel It Coming in the Dead of Night. Another song that was more or less made because he could feel that the divorce was pending and that the marriage was going to end. With Taylor, however, she made her entire career off exploiting the emotions of easily manipulated teenage girls who thought that these screwed up, hyper-victimizing songs about broken and failing relationships was automatically representative of their entire generation and who they were as people. And that's the problem. A lot of it just feels like it's preying upon the insecurities and vulnerabilities of teenage girls Because every single time they have a hard breakup, they immediately go back to the Taylor Swift songs to try to accurately depict how they feel about the relationship not working out. Taylor herself might not mean for this, but to me it just comes off as very opportunistic to release music every single time a relationship falls apart just to portray the would-be person who's like going to receive blame and flack for that as the person to blame for the relationship failing, instead of behaving like an adult and just accepting the fact that things don't always work out. And that's the problem. Due to the fact that we always tell people things are perfect, they don't realize that relationships are probably going to have dysfunctional moments in it or might be a little bit turbulent because not everyone's the same. Not everyone sees eye to eye. Everyone's a person, and because they're a person, they are going to have difficulties on accepting and seeing each other in a different light when you go from being friends to a relationship. And that level of intimacy changing can, in fact, change people's perception of someone else. You've seen it in marriages, you've seen it in relationships, where people that have been married for years learn new things about each other, and there are things that they might not like, or there are things that they might find very interesting. Or they might be very pleased by what they find out because it means that there's one more thing they can bond over, one more thing they can get closer to with this person. But with Taylor, she finds something that she doesn't like, most likely because it's some petty, pointless bullshit thing that celebrities usually get worked up over. She then decides to take a metaphorical shotgun to the relationship and blow it the fuck away. Or she might try to change the person and they'll most likely refuse because it's not her duty to tell them what they can and can't do with their lives. And the relationship obviously ends because she strikes me as the kind of person who will actively try to take advantage of the fact that someone may be willing to listen to what she has to say, even if it's entirely for her own personal needs. And she may try to change the person as a result, which will result in the relationship failing because it turns into a hyper tense relationship where one person is resentful because they feel like the other person's trying to change them, and the person trying to change them is resentful because the other person's not changing for them. But nevertheless, people dislike Taylor because of the fact that almost all of her music is devoted to complaining about relationships failing instead of looking inward and questioning why the hell it is that they all fail. It's one thing if one or two relationships fail, maybe you just had one or two people you didn't see eye to eye with. But when it's every fucking relationship, without exception, then you need to start looking inward and start questioning whether or not it's you and not them. I'm serious. How many people in real life actually go through relationships constantly thinking that everyone else is always at blame that's not a narcissist? Practically no one. Unless they're genuinely fucking oblivious to the way that they sometimes strike people in terms of their behavior and their actions. And that's pretty few and far fucking between, if you ask me. But the fact is this. A lot of the shit that she does comes off as very... It is like the definition of being an opportunist. Because like feeding off of the fact the relationship didn't work, so she's going to milk that and try to say that the relationship not working is the fault of her ex. Yeah, it's your fault. No, it's not. It's like a lot of this shit is usually 50-50. Hardly any of it is a 90-10 split. Not to mention the fact that when she started trying to align herself politically, she started going far, 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 far left. To the point where it's like, I'm not even going to think for myself or question anything I'm being told. I'm going to go where the money might be going, so I'm going to be a feminist. And if you want to be a feminist, fine. You can do that. But you're not oppressed when you are one of the wealthiest people in the fucking country. You're not some poor single mom trying to get by on minimum wage, being fucked over by a corporation that's constantly stealing a good hunk of her money so that they can then pay off for tax investors so they can avoid getting a write-off. You're not some poor middle-aged single parent. You're not. You're in your early 30s still, making millions and millions of dollars a year to lament and complain about your exes. You're doing the same shit that an angry, pissed off incel might do, except instead of it being an incel, it's a girl that most likely has had intercourse, but is instead angry that the people she used to have intercourse with fell out with her for whatever reason. Seriously, she's capitalized and created an industry for herself, essentially, off of her inability to act like a fucking adult. And then for some reason people are supposed to sit there and feel like shit when they point out the fact that a lot of the stuff she did was some pointedly like it's just childish fucking petty bullshit that no adult with a functioning brain does. This is the kind of shit that a 13-year-old girl would do when they're pissed off at a boy they like for not viewing them as a girlfriend. And she's made her entire career off of this. I don't get why anyone is supposed to respect that. I'll give her one thing. She does have a good set of pipes. She most certainly can sing. But the problem is, all she does is sing about how victimized she is because other people decided to leave the relationship. This is not what I would call a respectable person. Because everything they do is based upon preserving the narrative that they're a victim of everything around them. And this is not someone that I can fucking take seriously. It is not someone that I can really even respect because it's someone that comes off as a petty, pointless, whiny, self-victimizing nanny goat. And quite frankly, we have enough of that bullshit as it is in the modern world. We have enough fucking whiny, suburban, middle-aged white people trying to tell each other how victimized and oppressed they are by people who've actually witnessed real victimization and oppression. But then at the same time, it's always some petty, fucking pointless nonsense, bitching about not getting what they want. Taylor Swift is another one of these people who makes way too much money for no real fucking reason, just because she happened to have caught a bunch of teenage girls' eyes when she was singing about things they could relate to, because at that given time, most of them were jello heads that didn't understand the fact that romance is not as simple as everything being right or everything being wrong. Like, everything that I don't like about Taylor has been summed up in the last 10 minutes. And I hope that people can just respect the fact this is my opinion. They don't have to like it. They don't have to agree with it. I'm just putting it out there for public consumption. And so help me God, if any of you Swifties get in my fucking comment section and start screeching about how good Taylor is and about how you're jealous, you're poor, you're jealous. It's hard to be jealous of someone who is so emotionally stunted that they blame everything and everyone for their problems. It's kind of sad that someone that has been in a relationship for 9 years has to sit there and look at someone that can't hang on to a relationship for 3 years, reaping the benefits of their inability to maintain a relationship. And with that, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. See everyone later.